More than 90% of the butter sold in UK supermarkets is not what most people think it is. Some of it is blended with cheap vegetable oils. Some of it is artificially colored to look richer and more natural than it actually is. Some brands have been quietly reformulating their recipes for years without telling consumers. And some products sitting right next to real butter on the shelf are not legally even allowed to be called butter at all. You've been buying these products for years. You've been spreading them on your toast, melting them into your cooking, feeding them to your children. And the brands behind them have been counting on the fact that you'd never look closely enough to notice. Today, we're exposing 11 butter brands in the UK that are misleading consumers, cutting corners, or selling something very different from what their packaging implies. And once we've finished exposing the worst offenders, we'll reveal the 5 brands that are genuinely worth your money. Real butter, honest sourcing, nothing hidden. By the end of this video, you'll never look at the butter aisle the same way again. Let's start with a product that has been in British kitchens for decades. A brand so familiar, it almost feels like part of the furniture. Flora? For a generation, Flora was positioned as the healthy alternative to butter. The brand spent millions convincing the British public that its spreads were better for your heart, better for your family, better for your future. And it worked. Flora became one of the best-selling spreads in the UK. But here's the problem. Flora is not butter. It never was. And yet for years it competed directly with butter on supermarket shelves, benefiting from packaging and marketing that many consumers found confusing. The original Flora recipes were built around partially hydrogenated vegetable oils, which were later linked to the production of trans fats. Trans fats are now recognized by the World Health Organization as a major contributor to cardiovascular disease, the very thing Flora claimed to protect you from. The brand has reformulated since then, but independent nutritionists have pointed out that the core issue remains. Flora's products are heavily processed spreads made from refined seed oils, not traditional dairy. The omega-6 fatty acid content in many vegetable oil spreads is disproportionately high compared to omega-3. And research published in the journal Nutrients has highlighted concerns about chronic inflammation linked to this imbalance in modern diets. Flora is legally required to call its product a spread, not butter, because it doesn't meet the legal definition. But walk down any supermarket aisle and you'll see Flora positioned right next to actual butter in similar packaging at a similar price. That's not an accident. That raises serious questions about transparency. But Flora is far from the only brand doing this. The next one on our list is even more deceptive because it goes out of its way to sound like something it isn't. I can't believe it's not butter. The name is almost a confession. The product was never butter. It was always a vegetable oil spread. And yet the branding is built entirely around the idea of mimicking butter so closely that consumers won't be able to tell the difference. Independent consumer research has shown that a significant proportion of buyers in the UK genuinely believe, "I can't believe it's not butter," contains at least some dairy butter. It does not. The primary ingredients are water and a blend of vegetable oils, including palm oil. Palm oil is deeply controversial. Investigations by organizations including Greenpeace and the Rainforest Action Network have repeatedly linked palm oil supply chains to large-scale deforestation in Southeast Asia and the destruction of habitats for critically endangered species, including the Bornean orangutan. When you buy "I can't believe it's not butter," you are financially supporting that industry, whether you know it or not. The brand holds a round table on sustainable palm oil certification, which it uses to defend its sourcing. But environmental researchers and investigative journalists have questioned the effectiveness of RSPO standards in practice, with some reports suggesting certified supply chains still involve significant environmental harm. That alone should make people think twice. But things are about to get more complicated because the next brand on our list actually uses real dairy It just uses a great deal less of it than you might assume. Lurpak. This is where the investigation gets interesting. Lurpak is arguably the most trusted butter brand in the United Kingdom. It has won awards, it has loyal fans, it is positioned as a premium product. And the standard Lurpak slightly salted or unsalted block is genuinely real butter made from cream and salt. No issues there. But the Lurpak product range is far more complicated than that single block. Lurpak Spreadable, the most popular variant in many supermarkets, is not pure butter. It is a blend of butter and rapeseed oil. This is stated on the packaging, but research into consumer behavior consistently shows that a large proportion of buyers do not read the ingredient lists on familiar products they've been buying for years. They trust the brand, they trust the Lurpak name, and they assume they are buying the same product they've always bought. Lurpak Spreadable contains a meaningful percentage of rapeseed oil. How much varies slightly by variant, but it is not a minor addition. This is done to make the product soft enough to spread directly from the fridge. That is a practical benefit, but it fundamentally changes what the product is. There is also the matter of price. Lurpak is consistently one of the most expensive options in the butter aisle. Consumers are paying a premium price for a product that is, in many cases, diluted with cheap vegetable oil. In 2022 and 2023, Lurpak prices in the UK surged dramatically due to dairy inflation, with some packs briefly exceeding £5. Consumers paying those prices for blended spreads, believing they are getting premium pure butter, is a genuine consumer concern. Lurpak's parent company, Arla, has faced broader scrutiny in recent years as well. There have been ongoing criticisms from environmental groups about the carbon footprint of large-scale dairy operations, and investigative reports into farming practices within parts of Arla's supplier network have raised animal welfare concerns. Lurpak is not a fraudulent brand, but the gap between its premium image and the reality of its most popular products is wider than most consumers realize. If you're finding this investigation valuable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. We expose misleading products and industry secrets every week, and the next investigation might save you even more money. Now, let's talk about a brand that has spent decades wrapping itself in the imagery of the British countryside. Country life, rolling green fields, a country house aesthetic, classic British heritage branding. Country life has built its entire identity around the idea of traditional, wholesome British butter. The product itself is real butter. That part is true. But the story behind the brand is considerably less rustic than the packaging implies. Country Life is owned by Saputo, a Canadian multinational corporation. Saputo is one of the largest dairy companies in the world by revenue, with operations across multiple continents. The butter you're buying when you pick up Country Life is produced through a large-scale industrial dairy operation, not the idyllic British farmstead the branding evokes. This is a pattern called pastoral marketing, and it is extraordinarily common in the food industry. Research from the University of Winchester examining food packaging in the UK found that rural and agricultural imagery on packaging frequently has no relationship to actual farming methods or sourcing. Consumers consistently rate products with this kind of imagery as higher quality, more natural, and more ethical, even when there is no objective evidence to support those perceptions. Country Life has also faced criticism for its involvement in palm oil supply chains through some of its product extensions and related brands. And like many large dairy operations, the environmental footprint of the Saputo supply chain has attracted criticism from sustainability researchers. Country Life is not the worst offender on this list. But the disconnect between the brand's image and the corporate reality behind it represents a form of consumer manipulation that deserves scrutiny. The next brand takes a different approach. Instead of rustic heritage, it sells science and health. And the deception is arguably even more troubling. Benecol. Benecol markets itself as a cholesterol-lowering butter alternative. The key selling point is the inclusion of plant sterols, compounds which have been shown in some clinical settings to modestly reduce LDL cholesterol levels. The European Food Safety Authority has reviewed the evidence and concluded that certain plant sterol intakes can produce a meaningful reduction in LDL cholesterol. Benecol uses this finding to build an extremely aggressive health positioning, and consumers respond. The product sells at a significant premium over standard butter or spreads. But the independent science here is more nuanced than Benecol's marketing would have you believe. Research published in journals including the European Heart Journal has questioned whether reductions in LDL cholesterol from plant sterols actually translate into reduced cardiovascular events in the real world. Some researchers argue that the clinical evidence for meaningful heart disease prevention through plant sterol supplementation in food products is far weaker than the approved health claim suggests. There are also concerns raised by nutritional researchers about the fat-soluble vitamin absorption effects of plant sterols. Some evidence suggests regular plant sterol intake may reduce the body's absorption of beta-carotene and other fat-soluble antioxidants. The NHS website acknowledges this and recommends that anyone using plant sterol products ensure adequate fruit and vegetable intake to compensate. Benecol's base product is also not butter. It is a spread made from vegetable oils. Consumers are paying premium prices for a heavily processed product on the basis of health claims that some independent researchers believe are significantly overstated. That is deeply concerning, and it is not even the most aggressive health claim we are going to encounter today. But first, let's examine a brand that has made misleading origin claims central to its entire identity. Anchor. Anchor butter is produced from New Zealand grass-fed dairy cows. That is genuinely a selling point because New Zealand pasture-based farming practices are generally considered to produce high-quality dairy. The product is real butter. The New Zealand origin is real. But here is what the brand does not shout about. Anchor is owned by Fonterra, New Zealand's largest dairy cooperative. And Fonterra has faced a series of serious controversies that the cheerful orange packaging conspicuously fails to mention. In 2013, Fonterra was at the center of a major food safety contamination scare when one of its products was found to contain Clostridium botulinum bacteria, triggering product recalls across multiple countries and causing significant damage to New Zealand's dairy export reputation. The company acknowledged failures in its testing and quality control protocols. More recently, environmental investigations have highlighted significant water quality issues associated with large-scale dairy farming in New Zealand. The Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment in New Zealand published findings linking intensive dairy farming to the contamination of freshwater rivers and lakes with nitrates and pathogens. Fonterra, as the dominant player in New Zealand dairy, is central to those concerns. The grass-fed, natural, clean green New Zealand imagery on Anchor packaging sits awkwardly alongside those findings. Consumers buying Anchor on the basis of its environmental and quality associations deserve to know the full picture. Things become even more troubling with the next brand, because this one has actively been the subject of regulatory scrutiny. Utterly Butterly. The name is a deliberate play on the word butter. The product is a vegetable oil spread that contains no meaningful dairy content whatsoever. It does not meet the legal definition of butter under UK food law. Utterly Butterly's marketing, particularly in its earlier advertising campaigns, was built around a direct comparison with butter. The brand's name was specifically designed to create an association that would suggest a closer relationship to butter than the product actually has. The UK Advertising Standards Authority has over the years received complaints about various spread and dairy alternative products making misleading comparisons or implications. Consumer advocacy organizations have repeatedly highlighted that the naming conventions used by products like Utterly Butterly exploit the psychological anchoring effect, where a product name containing the word butter creates a cognitive association that persists even when consumers read the ingredient list. The ingredients in Utterly Butterly are primarily water and vegetable oils. No dairy, no cream. The product is one of the cheapest in the category, which is the one honest thing about it. But its positioning and naming represent a calculated decision to benefit from consumer confusion rather than clarity. That should outrage anyone who cares about honest food labeling. And the next brand on our list has something even more specific to answer for. Because it has been the subject of actual legal challenges, Vitalite. Vitalite is a plant-based spread marketed heavily at health-conscious consumers and vegans. The branding emphasizes its entirely plant-based credentials and its use of sunflower oil. Vitalite's ingredient list is transparent enough. It is a spread made from vegetable oils. It does not pretend to be butter in the way some other products do, but it has attracted significant criticism for a different reason. The sunflower oil used in Vitalite and similar spreads is extremely high in omega-6 linoleic acid. Research from institutions including the National Institutes of Health in the United States and peer-reviewed papers in journals including Cell Metabolism have explored the hypothesis that excessive omega-6 fatty acid consumption relative to omega-3 promotes inflammatory pathways in the body. The ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 in Western diets has shifted dramatically over the past century, largely due to the increased consumption of seed oils used in processed spreads and ultra-processed foods. Vitalite is not a dangerous product, but its health positioning as a wholesome plant-based choice glosses over this complexity. Consumers who are switching from real butter to Vitalite in the belief they are making a healthier choice deserve to know that the science here is contested and evolving. The worst part of this story is not any individual brand. It is the industry-wide pattern, and the next brand illustrates that pattern with particular clarity. Clover. Clover has been on British supermarket shelves since 1984. It is a butter-dairy blend, mixing actual butter with vegetable oils to create a product that is spreadable straight from the fridge. It contains real dairy. It is lower in saturated fat than pure butter because of the oil content. But Clover's marketing has consistently been built around its dairy credentials and British heritage positioning, while being less forthcoming about the significant proportion of vegetable oil in the blend. In 2023, Which magazine, one of the UK's most respected consumer advocacy organizations, conducted a review of supermarket butter and spread products and highlighted the widespread use of oil blending across popular brands, noting that many consumers do not understand they are buying blended products rather than pure butter. Clover's dairy content varies by variant, but the product is consistently marketed using pastoral imagery and dairy associations that imply a more purely dairy product than the ingredient list supports. For consumers who are specifically seeking to avoid refined vegetable oils, Clover is not what it appears to be. And this brings us to two more brands that deserve specific attention for their role in the premium segment of the market. Because when consumers pay more, they expect more honesty. They rarely get it. Kerrygold. Kerrygold has an extraordinary reputation. Irish grass-fed butter, deep golden color, rich flavor. It is one of the most beloved butter brands not just in the UK, but across Europe and North America. The grass-fed credentials are genuine. Irish dairy farming is characterized by a higher proportion of pasture-based feeding than many other countries, and Kerrygold butter genuinely does have a higher beta-carotene content, which is why it is naturally more golden in color. But the story is not completely straightforward. Kerrygold is owned by Ornua, the Irish dairy cooperative, and while the grass-fed positioning is largely accurate, Investigations into Irish dairy farming by organizations including the Irish Environmental Protection Agency have raised serious concerns about water quality, slurry management, and the environmental impact of dairy intensification in Ireland. Furthermore, while Kerrygold's Pure Butter Block is a genuine quality product, the brand has extended into spreadable versions that, as with Lurpak, contain added rapeseed or sunflower oil. Consumers buying Kerrygold spreadable because they trust the Kerrygold name may not realize they are not buying the same pure, grass-fed butter product. Kerrygold also sits at a premium price point. Some independent nutritionists have pointed out that high-quality British and Irish supermarket own-label butters sourced from similar grass-fed dairy operations can offer very similar nutritional profiles at significantly lower prices. The premium you pay for the Kerrygold brand may not always be justified by meaningfully superior product quality. And finally, in our list of brands to scrutinize, one that has become extremely fashionable in the artisan food space, Netherend Farm Butter. Small, artisan, churned by hand, local. Netherend Farm is a Gloucestershire dairy producing churned butter with a genuine craft story behind it. The product is real butter. The farm is real. The artisan credentials are largely legitimate. So why is it on this list? Because the premium attached to artisan butter is sometimes disproportionate to the actual quality difference. And the artisan food sector has not been immune to the kind of aspirational marketing that obscures rather than informs. Independent testing by food scientists comparing small-batch artisan butters with high-quality supermarket own-label butters from well-sourced dairies has, in some cases, found no statistically significant nutritional or flavor difference when variables like fat content, salt level, and cream quality are controlled. The issue is not that Netherend Farm is dishonest. It largely isn't. The issue is that the artisan butter market, like many artisan food categories, has attracted products and brands that charge 3, 4, sometimes 5 times the price of standard, good quality butter without delivering proportionate value. Consumers deserve to understand when premium pricing reflects genuine quality and when it reflects lifestyle marketing. Now let us talk about 5 brands and products that actually deserve your trust. After everything we have just examined, the relief of finding genuinely good options is real. Here are the brands that are transparent, honest, and worth your money. The first is Yo Valley Organic Butter. Yo Valley is a British organic dairy brand with a long track record of genuine transparency. Its butter is made from organic cream from British farms, and the organic certification means animals are raised on pasture without routine antibiotics and to higher welfare standards than conventional dairy. Yo Valley publishes detailed information about its farming practices and supply chain on its website. Its Soil Association organic certification is independently audited. Consumer reviews consistently praise the flavor and quality of the product, and independent nutritional analysis confirms a naturally higher content of fat-soluble vitamins and a more favorable fatty acid profile compared to non-organic alternatives. Yo Valley butter is widely available in UK supermarkets at a reasonable price premium over standard butter. It is one of the most straightforward, honest, high-quality choices in the category. Second is Abernethy butter, made in County Down in Northern Ireland. Abernethy is a hand-rolled artisan butter made in small batches using traditional methods. Unlike some of the artisan products we discussed earlier, Abernethy has been independently tested and praised by chefs, food scientists, and food critics for measurably different flavor characteristics linked to its production method. The butter is made from cream that is cultured before churning, creating a depth of flavor comparable to French-style cultured butters. It is available through specialist retailers and online. It is expensive, but in this case, the price genuinely reflects the labor, method, and product quality. This is what artisan butter should be. Third, and this one will surprise some people, Sainsbury's Taste the Difference, slightly salted butter. Own-label products are frequently dismissed without investigation. But Sainsbury's Taste the Difference butter is made from British dairy cream, meets the full legal definition of butter, contains no added oils or additives beyond salt, and has been consistently praised in blind taste tests organized by food magazines and consumer groups, including Good Housekeeping. The price is significantly lower than branded premium alternatives. The quality is comparable to products costing 2 to 3 times as much. Independent sensory testing has rated it alongside and sometimes above much more expensive branded competitors. This is the kind of discovery that makes these investigations worthwhile. Fourth is Organic Valley Pasture Butter. This is an American brand available through health food retailers and online in the UK. It is made from certified organic, 100% grass-fed dairy. The fatty acid profile has been independently verified to be significantly higher in conjugated linoleic acid and omega-3 fatty acids compared to conventional butters. CLA has attracted research interest for its potential anti-inflammatory and metabolic properties. The evidence is still developing, but the fatty acid profile of truly grass-fed butter is genuinely different and potentially beneficial compared to conventional dairy. Organic Valley certifications are independently audited and considered among the most rigorous in the industry. If nutritional quality is your priority and budget is not a constraint, this is worth seeking out. And fifth, perhaps the most widely accessible recommendation on this entire list, Aldi specially selected unsalted butter. Aldi's own label butter has been a revelation in independent comparative testing. It is pure butter. No added oils, no additives. It meets the full legal definition. It is sourced from European dairy farms. In blind taste tests conducted by Which and by the consumer team at the Telegraph's food section, Aldi's specially selected butter scored competitively against products costing significantly more. It is consistently one of the lowest-priced quality butters available in the UK. And its simplicity is the point. It is exactly what it says it is. Here is the pattern that connects everything we have uncovered today. The UK butter market has become a category defined by confusion. Manufacturers have discovered that the word butter, the imagery of butter, and the associations of butter are extraordinarily commercially powerful. So they build products that benefit from those associations while quietly reformulating, blending, processing, and diluting what ends up in your fridge. The legal framework in the UK distinguishes clearly between butter, dairy spreads, and vegetable oil spreads. But that framework depends on consumers reading ingredient lists carefully, understanding what those distinctions mean, and resisting the psychological pull of decades of brand marketing. Most consumers don't do that, and the food industry counts on it. What you now know is this: a product called butter, carrying rural imagery and positioned next to real butter at a similar price, is not necessarily real butter. A product carrying a respected dairy brand name may be an oil blend that shares almost nothing with the pure product that made that brand famous. A product carrying health claims may be built on science that is far weaker than the marketing implies, and some of the best butter available in the UK right now carries no famous name at all. The lesson from all of this is the same lesson that runs through every category we investigate. The packaging is not the product. The brand name is not the ingredient list. The marketing is not the truth. Next time you stand in the butter aisle, flip the product over. Look at the ingredients. Look at the fat content. Look at whether the word butter actually appears anywhere in the product name or legal description. What you find there will tell you far more than anything on the front of the pack ever will. And if you think the butter industry has problems, wait until you see what we uncovered about the olive oil market. because what is being sold as extra virgin in British supermarkets is one of the most widespread food frauds in the world. That investigation is coming very soon.